I confess to never having actually seen this Warner Brothers attempt at a Disney-style animated film when I was a kid. I don't even remember it existing, and if the box office stats are to be believed, neither did anyone else. Solely coming out on Game Boy Color, the title's N64 tie-in was cancelled due to how poorly the film performed. Having played this, it's hard to argue that whoever made that decision was wrong to do so. Let's get this out of the way straight up. This is so clearly an attempt to make a Legend of Zelda style of game that it's almost embarrassing. There had been a couple of pretenders to this style of gameplay on Game Boy before now. The Battle of Olympus was a bit like that, with some UK magazines actually putting Nintendo on notice, saying that Link's Awakening had better be as good as this or else. I don't think they were worried, it must be said. Then of course, Final Fantasy Adventure was pretty damn special, and also a good couple of years before GB Zelda anyway. On a slight tangent for a second, looking at the list order, we're actually going to get to Link's Awakening DX on this Tuesday series way before we get to the original one on Mondays. It'll actually be in a mere handful of episodes time, so look out for that. Comparisons between that game and Quest for Camelot are so numerous that they cannot easily be avoided. You have an inventory, it's empty at first, from which you can allocate your various weapons, shields, tools and so on to the A and B buttons. Of course, you'll have to first find your sword, then your shield, followed by hook shots, slingshots, a flute that is definitely not an ocarina. There's little original or even unexpected here. There are even 8 levels, all told. You'll learn some sword techniques as you go along, the first of which is a spin attack that you can do by holding the button down for a bit. You have a health bar made up of hearts rather than a numerical HP gauge, which can be replenished by collecting the drops left from felled enemies. I mean, do you need me to go on? The quest, such as it is fairly linear. You'll come across things that look like they might be side quests, but they're actually not. Right off the bat when starting up, the first thing you need to do is go find some guy and help him recover his lost chickens. Now, I remember having to do this in Kakariko Village in Breath of the Wild, or maybe the other one, I can't remember. But I also remember that this was optional. Here, it's mandatory. If you don't find all his bloody chickens, he won't give you your sword. Not only is this a mandatory dumb fetch quest, but it's literally the first thing you have to do in-game. It's a bit of a meme, I know, that the world-saving hero might go off collecting bear pelts for Timber Widearms when there's a world-eating dragon to slay, but the first thing Kaylee thinks of doing when setting off on her quest is to do mundane jobs that the villagers can't be asked to do themselves. There's loads of stuff like that too. One minute you might be clearing out an area of soldiers, the next you're helping some idiot find his dog that ran off, and it's all mandatory to move the story along, no side quests here. We really needed some more puzzle bits to make this game compelling, like in the slightest. There are little moments, but really nothing particularly interesting. Typically a solution to a room is just to kill all the enemies in an area or slash open all the chests. They don't look like chests at all, by the way, just part of the walls. No imagination or inventiveness really until you get later into the game. But would you persist that far with such a lackluster opening? I'm not a massive fan of the amount of knockback that occurs when you attack an enemy with your sword. Each monster takes at least 5 hits to kill. This is too many, by the by, and every strike you hit pushes you back a good way. In narrow corridors or smaller rooms, you can easily get pinned up against a wall this way, losing a bunch of health before you can move out of the way. Honestly, that's only a part of the naff controls. Movement is so frustrating in this game. The controls feel very stiff as it is, but your character gets stuck on literally everything. You could give a corner plenty of clearance, a good 10 pixels or more, and you'll still get stuck on it. This is irritating when just moving around the world, infuriating when it's an enemy you get stuck on. So half-assed, it's unreal. If you're not capable of pixel-perfect collision, that's okay, but be a champ to the player and grant the leeway in the other direction. Don't put up invisible boundaries everywhere, especially when your D-pad response is crap to begin with. And weirdly as well, the sword's range is actually lower if you slash upwards or downwards than it is if you go left or right. Why this would be is anyone's guess. Although you can save your progress anywhere by using the magic box in your inventory, it actually costs you money to do this, 30 gold, meaning you won't be able to spam it all that much. I actually don't mind this as a mechanic, as it, in theory, stops you cheesing your way through levels. The thing is though, enemies drop money even more regularly than hearts, and there are no shops, merchants, inns or anything like that. Nowhere else that you ever need the money that I've ever found. If you want to save, you'll have more than enough, believe me. While your inventory itself becomes fairly populated with stuff. Pretty much everything you find in-game will have one single solitary use, then you're just lugging it around with you for no reason. None of this multiple ways to solve an issue thing here. This is as cut and dry as you can get. Honestly, that's how the entire game feels. The whole thing feels so scatterbrained, like there were thoughts and ideas at the most basic stage anyway to put all this great stuff in, but everything was only carried out to like 25%. If the Game Boy Color had a lot of games that were rough around the edges, well, this is all edges. I mean, there's Game Boy printer compatibility for Merlin only knows what reason. I suppose you're printing the movie stills out? Just don't worry about stupid gimmicks like that and just make a good game, or at least an average game that controls well. I read somewhere, and I apologize but I can't remember who wrote it, but it stuck with me, that Quest for Camelot feels decapitated right from the start, and they were spot on with that assessment. The brain of the project, if there was one, is so completely detached from the different body parts that no part of it even came close to being good enough. Plus, Nintendo, can we just address this for a second? 2 1,000 strong libraries of games to choose from, and you put this in your Nintendo Online Game Boy emulator? Who the hell is picking that off the list? This should have been left in 1998, along with a crappy movie.